Hi, I'm Dana Bennett, Public Health Nurse Consultant. I work for Oakland Schools.
I'm Cindy Brummett, and I am the district nurse in Grand Ledge Public Schools.
Hi, I'm Katie Dobberton, and I'm the district nurse at Airport Community Schools.
I am Mary Beth Lyons. I am a school outreach nurse at the Regional Education Service Agency for Wayne County.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Raspold. I am one of the district nurses for Utica Community Schools in Macomb County, Michigan.
The most important thing the school nurse does is to support our students. That school nurse, their real goal is to make sure that we're creating health equity within our schools and supporting those students who really need that support, to provide that medication support, any type of first aid, emergency care training, and then managing their chronic health conditions within the school setting.
We impact all students in the school setting. We do that by providing general health training for our school staff. And in our district, the nurses provide CPR, first aid, and stop the bleed training for our staff.
I also think that there's times where we train these other personnel because we can't be in 5 different buildings or 10 different buildings at different times. So we have to train the personnel that are unlicensed to be able to be present in place of us. We can't delegate our assessment skills. Only nurses can provide that assessment. And so that's difficult when we're in a whole district. It would be nice if we had those nurses that were on site and that could bridge that on more as a frontline worker on site at all times. I think that there are so many opportunities for us to make a difference in keeping the children at school. Oftentimes what we see is that if there's not a nurse in a building, that the secretaries or the staff that are providing the care on site tend to send them home more quickly, and because they don't have that ability to assess the needs of that child after an injury, after an emergency.
So coming into a district that there was no nurse ever there, my plan was to ensure that our medical students had a plan in place, and then that plan was communicated to all the teachers that were on their schedule, so that they were getting proper care while they were at school. So that was the interesting thing, because I can't be everywhere, and so it was really important that communication and training took place initially.
My role here at Oakland Schools is to help support our school nurses within Oakland County. And that also includes our public schools, charter schools, and private schools. I also help to support our schools who do not have a school nurse. And what that encompasses is medication training to our designated school personnel who have been designated by their school administrators to administer medications. We've also started with teaching those who need their cardiac response drills. So having them take a look at what that looks like so they can get their cardiac and medical response teams up in order.
We walk through with staff what to do on a daily basis, what to do in the event of an emergency, and we meet with the parents as well to discuss the student's plan, what works best for them, and what we can do as far as state law and best practice goes.
My 2 interests, obviously in nursing, is health and education. And I think they really go hand in hand, because there are so many knowledge deficits that exist in the community in regards to all kinds of health topics, and even people that are diagnosed with conditions that they don't know anything about. And so recognizing that there is a need to educate people on even conditions they've been diagnosed with, and realizing how helpful that is, it really goes hand in hand.
One of the most important things that school nurses do is training staff so that they can keep students safe at school. We want to keep students with health conditions in school and learning, socializing with their peers. That's so important. So being able to provide that training and keep the kids safe at school, keep them in the classroom and not interrupting their school day, and preparing staff on daily care and on emergencies is so important.
Really thought about how those kids were missing some pieces of their academic potential because there weren't nurses present to help support them. So I really found that I connected with school nursing in a way that I never connected with pediatric nursing alone. I really valued that connection between health and between academics, and how that providing care to get a student to their top health would help excel their academic potential. So, some of the values I have, including accountability, I always show up when I say I will. I answer parents' emails and texts very timely. I don't like to have parents wait, because parents, when their children are diagnosed with a new diagnosis or they're struggling because of a health reason, they want answers right away. So I try to be there for them and answer immediately. I follow up with staff when I tell a parent that I will. I follow through with notifying all their teachers of any accommodations we need to put in place for their child. I work hard. I put 100% into my work every day. I do make myself available to parents and families after hours. If they need me, they can text or call me, and I usually will answer because I feel so strongly that I am their support person. I really am driven to get those accommodations they need in the school setting. I have a lot of pediatric experience. I worked inpatient for 17 years, and I'm now in my 10th year as a school nurse, but I still learn new things every day. I am passionate about education and seek out every learning opportunity I can to better my practice. And then that translates to better evidence-based care for my students in school. And that helps them get to where they need to academically.
When I speak to my friends or, other moms, and they're like, oh, you work in the schools and you're a nurse. We don't have that. Or what does that look like? So a lot of people have no idea of what to expect, what those services are like until they are needing them.
It's been my passion over the past probably 10 years. And even in the last 5 years, I've seen now more than ever that we need to have a nurse in every building. We have students with more complicated medical conditions, and the staff providing the care are becoming more and more nervous, I think, about taking care of the students with these medical conditions. And everybody's stretched very thin. So having that nurse in a building, it just seems to be so important. I would love to have a nurse in every building.
One of the most challenging things about being a school nurse is time. Time is so limited. When I began my school nursing career, I was responsible for 40 buildings. And as difficult as COVID was, it enabled districts to hire additional staff and help support our students and our school community. That led to us being able to do new things. I had always wanted to make our buildings my heart safe trained, but the ability to do and provide CPR training with 40 buildings worth of staff was an impossibility. Now that we've obtained additional nurses, we now are able to provide CPR training. And this year, we have really worked hard to provide CPR, first aid, and stop the bleed training to our staff. And our nurses in our district have trained over 200 people so far this school year.
So I've actually been a school nurse since 2002, but I've been in this district since 2005. So I have 17 years experience. One of the things that I've seen that has changed in our district is when I first started in 2005, is we had one student with life-threatening allergies. And now that has increased by multitude or by multiple numbers. That has increased quite a bit. I've also seen with that time that I've been in school nursing that we have more students with medical conditions that are more serious. We have more students with type 1 diabetes, and also not just that type 1 diabetes, but all of their technology that goes along with having a student with type 1 diabetes. It's more complicated. It's more integrated in their care, and it takes a lot more time and training, hands-on experience, and being present on site. I also have seen that we in Michigan have had to do more trainings that are required because the state has now implemented. We have our cardiac emergency response plans that are necessary to have. We have the laws about the stock epinephrine. So along with those, whenever there's a change at the state level, then we also have to make those changes at the district level. And as a result, we have all of that training that needs to go into place. When I first started, those requirements weren't always there. It might have been bloodborne pathogens that we had to do. We started to do the CPR because that was important, that was best practice. But also a part of this is that we have, those requirements that we have to meet. And if you're just one nurse in a district, you're trying to oversee the care of the student with diabetes, in addition to thinking about the whole district and all of the needs that you have in a school district with all those state requirements, meeting all those health and safety requirements that are needed.
We are starting to see and realize that we have such a large issue with mental health, and we still have such a stigma with mental health. So school nurses can play an important role there. School nurses might be another safe space for students to come and talk to. School nurses can be trained in suicide awareness and prevention and train other staff in those areas so that they know the questions to ask and they know triggers and who to watch out for and different symptoms of mental health conditions so that we can catch those signs, talk to the students, find them the support that they need, whether it's from the school nurse, a social worker, or somebody outside of the school building.
The worst thing that I hear, and this happens most times, I tell somebody that I'm, a nurse and working in the school system, is that one, we need more of you. So knowing that lack is there. Two, the other thing is when knowing that students have been misrepresented or misdiagnosed in the school, meaning that we have a behavioral issue that turns out to be a student was diabetic. Or we've had a student who is now in truancy issues or issues with truancy, and it's due to they actually have asthma and their parent is afraid to send them to school because they don't have that support for that student. at that level. So it's time that we create that health equity for our students and support those who may not be able to support themselves in the school building.
I think through my years of practicing as a school nurse, I have seen plenty of opportunities where we look at the situation, a student with anxiety, with depression, and those mental health symptoms that are occurring. And oftentimes we forget that behind the scenes, there may also be a medical condition. It may not just be all mental health, but there may also be physical or medical conditions that are causing those symptoms. I think we've had some students in the past that had life-threatening allergies. And what we do know is that students with life-threatening allergies, as they age and they get older, they can actually experience symptoms of anxiety, the worry, the fear that they might end up having an allergic reaction. So that to me is where a nurse can come in and they can bridge that and help others understand how that medical condition can be playing a role in their mental health symptoms. Oftentimes too, I think a school nurse can be on site and they might be the first one that identifies that there are those mental health symptoms, and then they can direct that student or refer that student to those professionals in the building to provide the support that's needed.
Yeah, so I feel like with school nursing, it's a different feeling than working in the emergency department, because in the emergency department, you can save someone from a really bad situation and you actually save their life and you saw it happen. And so that feels really good. I guess my story with school nursing, and this just happened last week. We had a student and he was just not acting right, but we couldn't really pinpoint what was wrong. One of the staff had called me and said, "Hey, can you come over and look at this student? We think he's having an asthma attack." And I said, "Oh yeah, I'll be right over." So I come over and I look at him and I'm like, "I don't think he's having an asthma attack." So I'm kind of like asking him what's going on, and he kept saying his heart was hurting. So you don't have a cardiac monitor or things that you can really assess them other than you just doing a physical assessment on them. I had a pulse ox, I put that on and everything seemed normal, but he just didn't seem right. So I was kind of asking him if he was stressed out about school, and he said no, and it didn't seem like anxiety, but again, like I just couldn't pinpoint what was wrong. So I called home and I told his mom, "Hey, I don't have a cardiac monitor here, but what I do know is that something doesn't seem right with him, and I think you should take him in to get checked out." And she was like, "Okay." So she came and got him, and I followed up by email. I said, "Hey, checking in, wanted to see how he's doing the next day." And she said, "Thank you so much for telling us to take him to the hospital or to get him checked out." And I said, "Oh, good. Yeah, tell me what happened." And she said, "Well, we ended up taking him to the ER, and while we were in the waiting room, he started clenching his chest again. And so they brought him in the back and they hooked him up, and he was in VTAC, which could be a lethal rhythm if you're not treated. So he ended up getting admitted to the ICU and had an internal pacemaker defibrillator placed. And this is a kid that's a freshman in high school. So I was so thankful that I had told her, like, my thought process, like, "Hey, you never want to say someone has anxiety unless you check their heart out. So I think you should get his heart checked." And it ended up being something with his heart, which is kind of uncommon, especially for someone that's a freshman. So in that case, I felt like, hey, that could have ended really poorly. And I'm so thankful that I took the time to communicate with his mom, and that his mom took the time to take him to the hospital. And in turn, he got the treatment he needed. So it wasn't immediate gratification that I fixed something, but I do feel like I was a part of it.
We just provided some medical emergency response training to a district on how to create a team, a little review of the AEDs or automated external defibrillators, and CPR, which are life-saving skills. And the next day I got a call from that school that a student that has a history of asthma that the school was not aware of had an asthma attack at school. They were able to act quickly and really implement their medical emergency response training that they had just had the day before, and call 911, call the parents, assist the student, and get her help very quickly. So they felt very proud of that response. And I felt very proud as well that we had made that, help them understand the importance of having emergency response teams at school, provided that training, and then it was implemented soon after that.
I had a student who was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes in 6th grade. She was Chaldean. Her mother was very limited in her English and really didn't understand anything about diabetes. Her mom was unable to calculate the insulin that she needed to. So I helped by providing support to the mother during the school and after school. So for months, her mom texted me with every dose, with breakfast before school started, and then with dinner after school. And I helped her calculate the insulin dosage for her daughter. After prolonged support, mom and the student finally developed a deep understanding of diabetes and were able to manage independently. To this day, her mom calls me her angel and thanks me every time I see her. Her mother is now employed in our school district as a health paraprofessional, and she is providing care and doing insulin calculations for students with diabetes in the school that she works at.
Yeah, so I feel like I'm living out my purpose within school nursing by my own personal goals are to have integrity, to be transparent, and also to look at, I try, whenever doing any type of nursing duty, I try to make sure that I am treating that person how I want to be treated, or how I would like a family member to be treated. That's my outlook on any type of interaction that I may have with any patient or constituent or employee.
So I recently had a chance to go back and think about the person that was the mentor for me in nursing. And they wrote about this person that a life of service was one to be proud of. And I think of this situation in school nursing is that same realm of how we view nursing, that servant being dedicated to overseeing the care of the students, that we're committed to that. I think that I always wanted to be a pediatric nurse. I was always interested in caring for others, and through the guidance and mentorship of another nurse, I ended up as a young adult. I was able to then kind of navigate that, and I took that on, and I've absolutely loved school nursing. Once I was able to get into public health nursing, I took my experience with pediatric nursing and I was able to put that into the public health realm. And school nursing was just a normal transition from public health into the schools, and also overseeing that care. It's just another aspect of it, is overseeing the care of the students in schools so they can stay in schools. So we're keeping them there instead of having them be home or having them get hospitalized because of their medical conditions.
If I could tell a parent one message, I would tell them, I am here for you. I want to ensure the safety of your student throughout the school day. I want to listen to their fears. I want to bandage up their injuries, and I want to encourage them so that they are successful. I am your teammate.